Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
Hi, and welcome to our latest Gold Invest interview. We are talking today to Enrico Gay, CEO of Algo Grande Copper. It's on the TSX Venture, ALGR is the ticker. And to us, it's one of the most interesting copper stories, in our opinion at least, to come out of Sonora, Mexico lately. Welcome, Enrico.
Thank you so much, Bjorn.
Enrico, to start us off, perhaps you could give us, our audience, a high-level overview of what Algo Grande is about, what the company has in its Adelita project.
Yeah, Algo Grande is really it's a new company. Myself and Joao Roca, who is a European geologist, we partnered about 2 years ago, and our mission was to find a very, very highly leveraged copper exploration project that we could fund the company with. And that journey took us to, first we were in Morocco, and then eventually Peter McGaw, who's the founder of Mag Silver, he showed us this property in Mexico, in Sonora, in northern Mexico. And we looked at the data, and we saw exactly what we were looking for, something that already had a discovery. It already was high grade. Mm-hmm. It had some size, but more importantly, they had the ability to, in our opinion, expand significantly. And so, Algo Grande is a copper-focused exploration company with a flagship 100% owned asset, which is the Adelita asset in the Arizona-Sonora copper belt. Mm-hmm. And it's a skarn porphyry copper, gold, silver project. And the company is taking a modern approach to reprocessing all of the data that existed in this project in the past to apply, modern artificial intelligence as well as 3D reprocessed techniques to get a real better full picture of what's going on underground, because these systems are complex and they require, new technology is great to get a better understanding of what's going on underground. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it certainly does. It's already a good overview and gives me the chance to go into the details here at least a bit. And I think, if I remember correctly, you have two main focus areas or target areas on the property. I never know how to pronounce it. Is it Cerro Grande or Cerro Grande? But that's the original discovery, I think. Let's start with that. Please tell our audience what Algo Grande has found there and where you see the potential.
Yeah, so Cerro Grande is, I guess, the flagship zone within this almost 6,000 hectare license. It's a skarn discovery, so it's a high grade gold, copper, silver skarn. Mm-hmm. It's outcropping, so there was an actual old mine there. And Rafael Gallardo, who is our in-country geologist, and he's the person that discovered the project. In the late 90s, he was shown this old, we wouldn't call it a mine, artisanal mine, mm-hmm. where they were taking out very high-grade copper with gold and silver. They licensed the project together with Peter McGaw. They staked the license, and then they ended up vending it to another company, Minorum Gold. In this Cerro Grande zone, 7,000 meters worth of drilling were conducted, and you get very nice intercepts, sometimes 45 meters of high grade, over 1% copper, usually 0.5 grams per ton gold, and 50 to 75 grams per ton silver. That's usually the mix that you're getting at Cerro Grande. Again, 7,000 meters worth of drilling is the data that we inherited. And it was the foundation, what got us interested right away was to see that, hey, there is a high-grade skarn system and with really nice, decent silver and gold credits. And it's potentially much bigger than people are aware of, and people are understanding. So Cerro Grande is the anchor to the project, but it's currently the current discovery is over a 300-meter zone. We believe Cerro Grande, as a specific target within the property, can actually extend 1.5 kilometers. Okay. So we think there's material room for expanding Cerro Grande, and then there is additional zones, as you know, down a 6-kilometer corridor, which is a limestone corridor, which is the contact rock where skarn is created. And we believe there are several other pockets like Cerro Grande along the 6-kilometer corridor, but our number one priority is to focus on that discovery making it longer, so increasing the strike and increasing also the depth.
Okay.
Because that's a very important part of this. The skarn in Cerro Grande in this 300-meter zone was usually delineated between surface, because it's outcropping, all the way down to 300 meters. Well, our belief is that the skarn will continue much below that 300 meters. And we hope that our drilling that we started in 2025 will prove that it is a lot deeper. It extends much deeper, and that we will encounter different lenses, additional layers of skarn below this zone. So Cerro Grande, our flagship, we believe it can be much deeper, and we also believe it can we can extend the strike significantly from the 300-meter zone, which is where the discovery is currently. We believe it can be extended to 1.5 kilometers roughly. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it sure does. Interesting to see also that there might be like a corridor of Cerro Grandes to follow up on later on. Certainly very interesting to see that there's potential for longer time.
Yeah.
So that in its own, to my mind, is a project that for a company the size of Algo Grande might be a big discovery, a company maker even, if you drill it to the extent that you mentioned. But as we alluded to, that's not the only zone of interest on the property. You also have a Mesquital, I think it's called, which is a big porphyry target, and that hasn't been tested yet, as far as I know.
That's correct. So Mesquital is just northwest of the Cerro Grande Skarn mineralized discovery. And it's a classical porphyry target. You have molybdenum soil sample anomaly and copper soil sample anomaly that runs 4.5 kilometers.
Okay.
The previous operators had actually done really good work trying to get to the porphyry zone, but they never drilled deep enough. And they never got. We see a very strong mag high and a mag low. And porphyries are like onions, and usually your high grade zone is on the exterior side surface between the mag high and the mag low, and that is not tested. That has not been tested. It's important to mention that this project is it really is in a very active mineralized setting. Like, let's even look further. What is above? What is around us? We have Alamo Dorado, which is a Pan American Silver owned silver producer. It produced from 2005 to 2017. It produced 66 million ounces of silver. And based on conversations we had with local geologists, they actually believe that below this layer at depth, there is a copper porphyry system below the Alamo Dorado silver project. When we look at the geology at depth beneath our project, we're seeing from the geophysics and the 3D reprocessing we did, we see a big feeder system underneath not only Mesquital, which is northwest, but just kind of 500 meters to a kilometer northwest of the skarn, but even below Cerro Grande, the high-grade skarn mineralization.
Oh, interesting.
We see a feeder system. We see a potential porphyry intrusion feeder system at depth. So it might be two different systems, or it might be one very large system, which is pretty typical of this part of northern Mexico. You have massive porphyries, obviously, the ones in the north, Cananea. These are some of the largest porphyry systems in the world. So yeah, we believe it's a skarn porphyry system, and Mesquital is certainly a porphyry target. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds very interesting. That would be quite something to show this is one big system, not different pockets. Interesting. Well, I think that's for later. Let's talk a bit about what your plans are for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been telling us already that you already started drilling on the Cerro Grande, I think. So when is that going to be complete? What else are you planning to do this year at both projects?
Yeah, as we speak, drilling is ongoing. We started drilling at the end of November. We completed 2.5 holes before Christmas holidays, and we restarted last Friday, just beginning of January. So we're going to continue to drill another 1,000 meters roughly. This constitutes our first phase drill program. In this program, what we want to do is we want to show that the skarn mineralization in the discovery zone of Cerro Grande is much deeper than previously thought. It is much thicker. The intervals could be, much north of 50 meters of this high-grade copper, gold, silver. So that's our number one objective, as well as proving that through a step-out hole that the mineralization does extend along strike. Skarn mineralized. I'm not a geologist, but from all my conversations with my geologist, I understand that skarns are quite difficult to delineate. They pinch, they swell. They're not an easy system that you just, poke some holes along a line and you discover them. They bend, they pinch, they swell. So that's why it's really important to do the detailed mag survey that we're currently doing right now. We know our skarn has a first layer of magnetite-rich rock, which is going to be very, very good to pinpoint with the detailed mag survey. It will light up like a light bulb. And then we know the other layers are not magnetite rich, but we can target them through other ways with geophysics. So it's a combination right now. The exploration is a combination of drilling, a detailed mag survey, as well as trenching and some soils geochem that is going to start actually as we speak. Joao Roca is in the field. He's our VP of exploration, and he's personally going to be conducting this trenching and surface sample program. And so that constitutes our first phase of exploration. It's a
That's
little bit of drilling.
Till when? How long is that going to last?
It will probably be finished sometime early February with the drilling. We'll be finished with the detailed magnetic survey, which, by the way, we're doing in partnership with the University of Sonora, which has been really cool. There's a lot of younger geologists that are very excited and are walking the project right now, walking in many lines, with the detailed survey. But our hope really here in the first phase of exploration is to come back with a thesis based on the data and the science that the skarn mineralization is much deeper and that it will extend along 1.5 kilometers. And again, that will be a combination of integrating detailed mag, trenching, soil surface program, as well as drilling, which is being conducted with orientated core. This is the first time this project is drilled with orientated core, and that's really important here because, again, skarns are not an easy things to delineate. They have a very odd geometry. So it's pivotal that you use orientated core to be able to understand the dip of the formation. If it's dipping, northeast, northwest, this is really important. So this is the first time that this project is drilled with orientated core. And I think your viewers will recognize that is why we bought this project. We saw that there were significantly important steps that you need to take to be able to actually close into the system that were not taken prior. And now we're using all those tools to make the discovery and be the smart guys that actually unlock the full size of the system.
Well, the first indication of how smart you guys really are, we're going to get that when the first drill results come out. We're hoping sooner rather than later, I think. But though the first results, the first samples are already in the lab, and so we can hope it's not too far away.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we were able to deliver the first batch of core to ALS right before Christmas. And we know that in their Hermosillo ALS lab, which is just 3 hours from our project. And we know that core has now made its way to Vancouver, where there is a massive ALS lab. It's being currently processed. We expect the results from this first batch of core to come back by end of January, I would say.
Okay, well, that wouldn't be a bad turnaround, considering for once the mining sector is drilling a lot and has been a lot in the last couple of months and weeks. So keeping our fingers crossed, we'll get these results back. Activities are ongoing. You have a lot of additional work planned and already started that. It doesn't come cheap though, right? But I think we can say that Algo Grande is pretty well financed for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah, we raised $3.8 million, which is enough for, again, a first pass program. we're going to need to raise a lot more to properly bring the value that the project that we think the project can create for shareholders. We believe that this first phase of exploration will give us the data to come back with confidence and say this is much bigger, and we need to drill it, and we need to drill it fast, because when you're in a copper market like we are now, this is when your discoveries are getting actually valued properly. So our intention here is to actually be very aggressive and drill 10,000, 15,000 meters in the next 12 months. Obviously, we will need to raise more money for that, but we're very confident that after the first batch of drill results come out, we're very confident that the market investors will see the value that Algo Grande is presenting. We're very confident that we'll get fully financed for a large drill program that can really take this company's market cap much higher than it currently is.
Okay, well, certainly looking forward to that. So that's already coming up then. Well, you mentioned it, the environment that the company is working in at the moment. It couldn't really be much better. Copper is going higher again after 25's rally, or so it's at or above $6 per pound at the moment, I think. So, which is pretty good. I haven't seen that in a long time. So, I mean, it's clear that you want to profit as fast as possible from this environment. And that's also to the benefit of your shareholders, of course, if you can do that. But what do you think short to midterm is going to happen in the copper market? Because long term, a lot of people say, okay, this is the energy transition narrative, electrification narrative, AI. So a lot of people are in agreement that long term, we're going to see a much higher copper demand. Do you foresee or internally in your company, what are the models you're running for the next year or so, perhaps?
I mean, as you can see, I'm a young man, so I haven't been around to see all the previous bull markets in commodities, but I do have quite a few very smart older friends that I rely on for these type of more macro long-term calls. Based on what I'm understanding, we've entered into a different paradigm. There's no other reason for gold and silver to be doing what they're doing. It has much more to do with geopolitics, the erosion of currency worldwide, the printing and manipulation of money, long-term debt cycles, which are unraveling before our eyes. It's not just that these commodities are worth more. They are worth more because of all the reasons you just mentioned. But they're also, it takes more of the money to buy them because our money is being worth less every day. And I think a lot of intelligent investors in the space are recognizing that, and that these type of projects are incredibly undervalued. I mean, that is ultimately why I decided to get involved, to find Joao Roca as a partner and geologist, and to find an exploration project that was highly leveraged to the price of these real commodities that I think are going to outperform every other sector class over the next 5 to 10 years. Copper specifically, unlike gold, gold and silver, but silver more, but has industrial uses. But copper, obviously, this is the mothership for anything to do with electrification. We know artificial intelligence is going to play, a major role in our future. We know it's going to take a lot of copper to build all that infrastructure. I mean, the supply demand for copper, it's going to be imbalanced. There's going to be a lot more copper needed. And that's why we think that this type of project we have, where we have this high grade copper, gold, silver system close to surface, but also that has some depth, and then potentially a larger porphyry discovery that sits at the bottom. We think this will be a very appealing project to majors in the next years as copper continues to heat up. I think copper can go a lot higher. And I think it's going to be a very active M&A, mergers, acquisitions, etc. It's going to be very active. So I think we're betting on the right horse. Copper is a great horse to be on.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you to give us a short summary of why people should look at Algo Grande now, but I think you already did, or you just did, from the project specifics to the macroeconomic situation. I think that's a good summary of what you're aiming to do. Thank you very much for taking the time, Enrico, because we don't want to get this too long. It's already over 20 minutes. So great introduction, I think, for people to Algo Grande. And of course, if anyone needs more information, they always can come to the Goldenverse website and of course in English, especially to the company's website. So thank you very much again, and we'll see what these results will be, hopefully soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bjorn.
Great.
Thank you, Goldenverse.